Hello YouTube, it is Legendaries, and it has now been a couple of days since Visions of Eternity came out. This is the third of the yearly expansions, and I think these yearly expansions, they've been received in good ways in some ways, but there's also been a decent amount of criticism. So I was really excited to see what ArenaNet's third attempt at a yearly expansion could look like, and that's what this video is. This is first impressions of Visions of Eternity, and I'll just spoil it, okay? But I feel like it's generally a really decent step up over the previous yearly expansions, and I think it's easily the best one so far. And today, I want to talk about why. And let's start off with the open world. Visions of Eternity takes place on Castora. And inherently, I think that's just very exciting. It's like a new continent, right? First time in a really long time in this franchise that we've gone to a brand new continent like this. There's two different maps. The first map is Shipwreck Strands. And as you can see, this map is kind of almost like kind of pirate vibes, right? Like we're on this like tropical beach. It's a really stunning setting, and I'm honestly surprised that GW2 hasn't done settings like this too much before. And then the second map is very, very different. It still feels like Castora, but I love how distinct it feels from the first map. This is Starlit Wheels, and this is a bit further inland. This is more almost like Heart of Thorns-like. There's like all these like magical ruins, and I generally think that this map is potentially the prettiest map in GW2 history. I think actually during the night it looks even prettier, but just it reminds me a lot of like Auric Basin, but there's like all these magical effects, and you can really tell that it's been 10 years since Heart of Thorns came out. I keep getting people in my stream that are asking me if I'm using reshade, especially a lot of new players. They're like, why does your game look so much better than mine? And it's just that like these new maps look like a huge graphical upgrade. They did actually upgrade some of the graphics to upgrade the shadows, and I do think that that helps a lot with these maps as well. Something I really like about these maps is just how they feel really packed with content. It feels like almost everywhere there are like high quality events going on. The events also don't feel copy pasted like they did in some of the Janfer Wilds maps, like for example Janfer Century. And a huge highlight for me is that there are once again meta events. Janfer Wilds didn't really focus on this too much, but this time around there is a world boss in the first map, which is pretty fun. Reminds me a little bit of something like Everblade's Assault in Sighting. But the second map has got a full-on meta event, which I think is probably the best meta event they have done since Dragon's End. It is genuinely a total blast. The pre-event feels a bit like Octavine, and then you go up on this platform into the sky, but there's like different phases, so it doesn't feel very HP spongy. The visuals are top-notch. Genuinely, I have had such a blast commanding this meta event, and I'm really excited to keep repeating it in the future as well. Another highlight for me in these maps is just purely how much hidden details there are to find. Each map is called 3 jumping puzzles. I've only found 4 out of 6 total so far, so I'm still like looking around and seeing if I can find those other 2. But it's just a fun experience to like stumble upon these jumping puzzles, and there's lots of other hidden places like that too. On the first map there is a whole underwater cave system that you can go through. It almost feels a little bit like you're in Tangled Depths. It's not quite as confusing. The main map itself is above land, right? But being down here in these caves can definitely feel a little bit like you're back in Tangled Depths. I absolutely love it though. You can find like all these super gorgeous like hidden caves, and every time I play these maps I feel like I'm still stumbling upon either it's a fun new event I haven't seen before, a fun hidden little area, a jumping puzzle. Besides this, there are also loads of collections and achievements that you can do. The hearts from Janfer Wilds also make a return. These are tiered hearts, which means you can do them every day and you can sort of level them up. The objectives actually feel pretty good again this time around. There's lots of different choices for things you can do. You can just do events, get heart tokens, spend those. But I will say the rewards of these hearts actually feel like a bit of a step down from Janfer Wilds. There's just not too much you actually get from leveling them up, so I haven't found myself doing them too much, but hasn't really been a huge problem, just because genuinely I feel like these maps are the best open world experience in Guild Wars 2 probably since EOD, maybe even since Heart of Thorns, so the hearts are a pretty small part of that equation. There are also hero points again. I'm not too sure what I think of the hero points so far. Instead of like having these hero points where you go and you fight something, the hero points are mostly places where you go through a dialogue tree. This does make it really accessible. If you want to like go and unlock your elite specialization, all you gotta do is like go to these places and go through some dialogue. But I do think if you're doing it for lots of different characters, it can feel a little bit repetitive going through these dialogue trees every time. I do kind of miss the old style that we had back in Heart of Thorns. While you're exploring these maps, you can once again level up Masteries. And I think the highlight of these Masteries is absolutely the Skimmer Rework. I was thinking that the Skimmer would kind of be able to fly a little bit, but it's actually a lot better than I thought. The Skimmer has basically become a flying mount. Once you like activate this slipstream boost ability, you can literally like fly up into the sky like this. It's really fun to use. It's maybe not quite as precise as the Skimmer, but it's just really fast. And it's actually like a little bit of skill to like using the abilities at the right time to fly around. The other Masteries don't feel quite as impactful, I will say. Castora Survivalist is, you just get some more rewards. It's kind of a boring one. I do want to level it up though. But whilst Castora Magic is a little bit better, there's like these mini games where you open a seer mirror and then you gotta do a little mini game and you get these chests. This one is generally quite interesting, but I think the highlight of this expansion for sure is the Skimmer Mastery. Next, I also want to talk about the story. I feel like when it comes to story, they have really listened to feedback that we had for Gen for Vals. I was actually quite into the story of Gen for Vals. There was a lot of exposition, there was a lot of talking, and as like somebody who loves story, I love just listening to all the characters and stuff. But there was definitely a decent amount of criticism that these bears just kept talking the whole time. Wayfinder. This time around, the story gameplay is a lot more gameplay focused. There's a lot more mini games that you go through, a lot more steps where you gotta like explore maps and stuff like that. So it just feels like the story has gotten a little bit more players actually doing stuff instead of listening to dialogue. My favorite part of it though is just the actual plot. I think that some of these recent GW2 expansions have had really good world building, but the actual plot, the stuff that actually happens, has often felt a little bit predictable. Like we fight some new enemy and then we fight them and we figure out some details and then we defeat them and that's it. This time the story was extremely different from what I expected. I don't want to go into any spoilers, but it's just nice to have like some twists, some like unexpected stuff happening in a story. It's generally like much more exciting than it's been in the past couple years, and I absolutely cannot wait to see how the story continues. The other main highlight of this expansion is definitely the elite specializations. The last two yearly expansions didn't do these at all, instead they did weapons, and new elite specializations just feel a lot more impactful. I can't judge this too much just yet, because I've only really been playing the Evoker. The Evoker is pretty fun though. I'm playing the trait where you only play the fire attunements, and I thought that that would be kind of boring, like only sticking to the fire skills, but there's a really satisfying rhythm to it. And then like when you use this skill, it resets like all of your skills, and it feels almost like you're playing Tetris a little bit, like all your skills come back at the same time. So my first impression of Evoker is pretty good. I'm gonna have to play the other specs though, and I'm wanting to do a video sort of sharing my first impressions of all the different elite specs. But you have to stay tuned for that one a little bit. Something else I really like about this expansion is how there are legendaries from day one. When a new expansion comes out, I really just want to get in there and grind. Like do the meta events a lot, play the maps a lot, run around gathering. But with the previous two expansions, legendaries only came in with the first or second patch. And that's usually when I'm a little bit bored of those maps. This time that's not the case. Two of the legendaries are available from day one, including the legendary Aqua Breather, which is actually supposedly not that expensive to get. I'm really happy about this because as I'm like wrapping up my map completion, as I'm wrapping up my story, I've actually got like a large goal. I've got something else that has me excited to keep coming to these maps over and over. I guess I'll share some more opinions once I've actually finished crafting these legendaries, but they seem pretty high effort. There's like collections for them. Seems like a decent little journey. Another feature of this expansion is the new Homestead. The new Homestead looks absolutely beautiful. I've heard that some of the Homestead nodes are bugged, but I'm sure they'll fix that soon, right? There's like old fix pretty much every day, but yeah, the new Homestead is just absolutely beautiful. I am using a sky from the gem store currently though, but even without the sky, it's just absolutely gorgeous. Something I really like about this Homestead is that the default house is not baked into the map. The default house is also built of decorations, which means that you can delete it. So that means if you want to build your own custom house with walls and roofs and doors and stuff, you can totally do that. You can just get rid of the existing house and just build your own custom place. There are also now Homestead templates, which means that if you make a homestead and you want to share it with people, you can do that. Or if you want to make multiple homesteads, you can like save multiple layouts and switch between them. The system actually works really smoothly. So I've got my old homestead from Jennifer Wald saved over here. And look, I can literally just like click these buttons and bam, it just takes me to my old homesteads and all my decorations are still there. It's a super, super neat feature, and I'm really, really glad that they've added this. All in all, I genuinely have had a really amazing time playing this expansion. It's just been an absolute joy going around these maps and exploring and finding all the secrets. I keep being excited to do the meta events. It just feels like there's so much stuff to do. This expansion somehow feels like they had twice as much time to make it. It feels a lot more like those old school expansions. They only had like 2 months longer than for the other expansions, so I'm not really sure how exactly they have pulled this off, but I think they've really genuinely listened to feedback that people had for the previous expansions, and they've really accurately addressed pain points that we've had. It's not perfect just yet. I'm really hoping that the patches will be as good. There's been a little bit of a theme in Guild Wars 2 where once an expansion comes out, people really like the launch, but people are much more critical of the patches. Usually it feels like the map quality and the story quality drops a little bit in these patches. This time, the first patch is going to be purely a feature patch. We're getting fashion templates, raid quick play, the raid rework, all that stuff is coming in that first patch. But it's going to be like 6 months until we get the next map story patch. I'm really hoping that that extra time means that they can keep this quality level up for the patches as well. Because if they do, then they've got an absolute winner here with Visions of Eternity. But yeah, we'll have to wait just a little bit longer to see if they can nail these patches as well. So far though, I think Visions of Eternity is off to an absolutely fantastic start. It feels like the old expansions, genuinely. It feels like a huge step up over Jennifer Wald's and Secrets of the Obscure, and I cannot wait to keep playing more of it. That's it for me, everybody. If you want to see some gameplay, I've been streaming the expansion for like millions of hours over at twitch.tv/ArenaNet, so go check that out. Also check out all the other content on my YouTube channel. I have a lot of videos I'm planning right now. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.